Hey guys, so this is another kind of dating story. I guess this isn't really a dating story. This is an app story. Not very many actual dating stories. Mostly what I'm going to call app stories, and this is my experience being on dating apps. Man, where to begin with this? Um, I'm bringing something up because I'm going to read it. I'm looking at it over here. So here's the thing. Everybody's got flaws, and one of my major flaws is when it comes to meeting people, I need to learn to be more patient, and I recognize this. And one of the things that I can be a little impatient on is people asking questions. And that may be like, wait a minute, if you're trying to get to know people, why are you impatient with people asking questions? It's really the type of questions that are being asked and when the questions are being asked. Because to me, before you meet someone, there are things that you want to know about the person that will give you an idea whether it's safe to meet the person. In my opinion, you're kind of going out there blind anyway. Now you want to have the idea, like, is the person safe? Are they going to go out and get drunk? Are they going to be on drugs? Are they a potentially violent person? And asking the questions along those lines, I completely understand trying to figure that out. But well, one thing is that kind of the best way to get to know people is to kind of just have a conversation with them. Even on the phone, just talk to people. And we have all this technology now. You can speak to people on the phone, you can have video chat, whatever. But I matched with someone on a dating app, and this person wanted to ask a bunch of questions before we even have a phone conversation. And when I say a bunch of questions, you're going to see what I mean. Forget the asking questions before we meet, but this is before we even had a conversation on the phone. And if you're going to say, well, what if this person wanted to be sure it was okay to give their number to you? Here's the thing: the app allows you to actually have voice calls, so you don't have to give the person your phone number. So I'm going to read this to you. I'm going to put it up there. I'm going to read this to you. So we're starting out, and I'm being patient. Now, before, in this person's profile, they mentioned that they wanted to ask a lot of questions. They actually brought that up before, or not a lot of questions, but they didn't say a lot of questions, but they said that they like to ask questions, which I'm like, you know what? You have this tendency to be impatient with people. Be patient. And also, kind of the patience came from the fact that this person was fairly attractive. I'm going to keep it a buck. All right, so here we go. So I say, hello, blank. I'm not going to say their name. I'm hoping to meet someone and it be of substance. So I'm very ready to get to know you, because as you can see, in the part that I cut off there, they said before we call or plan a date, they basically said that they want to have questions before we call or plan a date. Before we call, I want to stress that this is before a call. This isn't involving giving a number. You have the app, you can have the call. So here we go. So, hey, Aaron, I don't know if that's me. I look forward to learning more about you. Here we go. Here are my questions. What does a meaningful long term relationship look like to you? What qualities do you most value in a partner? What personal qualities do you bring to a relationship that could enrich your partner's life? Now I'm going to stop there because the next question, it gets cut off. So this is kind of addressing this. What does a meaningful long-term relationship look like to you? Honestly, guys, that really depends on the person. I mean, I guess there's broad strokes, but honestly, I don't even know how to answer that. If you're hearing these questions and you're like, what's the big deal? So far, it's not really a big deal. You've already see there's four questions here. These are essay questions. These are four essay questions, in my opinion. But on top of them being essay questions, these are questions that are really dependent on who you're meeting. like who the person you're meeting. They're going to differ depending on who the person you meet. So let's stress that, okay? So far, we've got 4 questions. How many more questions? Now, we haven't got to the 4th, so how many more questions do we have? Let's find out. There are a total of 10 questions, 10 essay questions. This person has 10 essay questions before you even have the conversation on the phone or voice or whatever. Let's look at these. So the 4th question, learning from the past, how would you show up differently in your next relationship? Learning from the past, I don't know if this person has done this before, but if they have, they clearly haven't learned from their past. 5, how do you plan to approach conflict in your next relationship? What does that even mean? Once again, depending on who the person is, conflict is going to be approached differently. People interact in different ways, so then how you learn to interact with people, you adapt. God, let's keep going. 6, we're now at 6 essay questions. I am deeply attracted to a man who has emotional intelligence, psychological self-awareness, and financial stability. Of those, financial stability, we get that. The rest of them are quite ambiguous. Emotional intelligence, psychological self-awareness, kind of ambiguous. But you argue with that, but let's keep. Would you say you possess these traits? And if so, can you elaborate? This is a goddamn essay question. That question in and of itself is pretty freaking long. But guys, there are 9 more essay questions like this. And here's the thing. When people say they want someone who's emotionally intelligent, most of the people who say they want people who are emotionally intelligent lack emotional intelligence themselves. Anybody who's going to give you 10 essay questions before they even call you, they lack emotional intelligence, normal intelligence, whatever, all the types of intelligence. Let's continue. 7, if you were in a relationship and it was going well, how would you feel about living together? How would you prefer to handle household finances? Once again, now that is a reasonable question, I think, but how would you handle household finances? I guess it would depend on how much you make. Maybe that's a question. But here's the thing. We're talking about living together. I don't even know how this person's voice sounds at this point. Why are we talking about this? I'm going to tell you why I think we're talking about this when I finish getting through this, but let me continue. What's the bigger vision or purpose in life that you're working toward? What's the bigger vision and purpose in life you're working towards? At this point, guys, it's a job interview. I'm getting a job interview. Can you imagine what disagreements would be like with this person? This person would be completely insufferable. What's your bigger vision and purpose in life you're working towards? 9, guys, and we're not even done. 9, do you use substances like alcohol, cigarettes, weed, or others? If so, how often? That actually is that's a reasonable question. Of all these questions, to me, that's the most reasonable one, because under all these circumstances, that can be a clear deal breaker for you. And finally, number 10, lastly, what's your idea of a perfect first date? My idea of a perfect first date is one that doesn't involve me answering 10 goddamn questions before the date. That's my idea of a perfect first date. Now, here's the thing, guys. Every one of these questions is a confession. And what I mean that is basically every one of these questions is her trying to deal with stuff that she's dealt with from the past. You, in answering these questions, is dealing with the ghosts of boyfriends past. And now you have to deal with this. She sat down with her therapist. Her therapist told her to create boundaries, clearly define what she wants in a relationship, and this person made a list. Let me tell you something, guys. I love writing things down. Here, I have a bullet journal for my personal and my work. I have 2 journals. I write things down all the time. I write down finances, plans. I'm a thorough planner. But this is ridiculous. If you don't think this is ridiculous and you're a guy, I wish I could introduce you to this person. Maybe y'all would hit it off. Maybe you good. If you're a woman and you date men and you don't think this is ridiculous, you can plan to be single for a very long time. Hey guys, during the editing of this video, I realized that I left off a very important part of this story, and that's how I responded to this message. So I responded with 3 messages. The first message was, are you looking for a partner or an employee? The second part, no, lights all messed up. The second message, that I left was, who the hurt you? That was me self-editing myself. Yes, I sent that. I said, who WHO space DA space FUCK hurt you? And then my final message was, take care. And then I unmatched her. I could have been more polite. I'm sorry. I'm not. You asked me to write 10. You asked me to write 10 essay questions. 10 essay questions. I already did qualifying exams for my PhD. I'm not doing any more qualifying exams. It ain't worth it. It was 10 GD essay questions, guys. I'm out.